After completing the redemption mission and just as I was about to leave the small world, the second male lead, Patrick, confessed his feelings to me. I couldn't bear to see him return to his past. That time when he was broken and lost. So I chose to stay. We were in love like any ordinary couple and, with everyone's blessings, entered into marriage. Until on the wedding day, a girl burst into the scene. Patrick will betray you in the future. Don't marry him. Who are you? Patrick's tone was firm, his eyes full of me. I love Vicky deeply. If you continue to spread rumors and ruin our wedding, don't blame me for not being polite. But the girl ignored him and, with red eyes, continued to stare at me. Mom, believe me, this person won't make you happy. Chapter 1. The guests present were stunned. A few seconds later, the tense expressions turned into barely hidden laughter. I was 24 years old this year, and the girl looked like she had just turned 18. How could I possibly be her mother? But the girl seemed oblivious to the mocking gazes around her and still looked at me with red eyes. He won't make you happy. He'll only make you cry. All the holidays he says he's too busy with work, he's actually spending them with someone else. He's been entangled with that bitch Ruby for over 10 years. When I heard the name Ruby, a chill ran down my spine. She was the female lead in the book and also the person Patrick had secretly loved for many years. How could this girl know about Ruby? What are you talking about? I haven't been in contact with her for a long time, Patrick said. He looked at me anxiously. Vicky, don't listen to her. We've never met. Chapter 2. Patrick wasn't lying. Ruby had gone abroad 4 years ago and never returned. In these 4 years, our relationship had been very good. We had never fought over that past love. I believe you, I said. The girl grew desperate. Mom, he's lying. The hotel security arrived late, dragging the girl out and tossing her out roughly. False alarm. False alarm. Let's continue. Let's continue. Where were we in the ceremony? Friends and family raised their glasses to try and ease the atmosphere, but it was obviously too late. The venue was a mess. Flowers scattered everywhere, and the host had never seen such a scene. Standing frozen, the hotel's senior management came personally to apologize and said they would compensate us and hold a new event. How are your security measures this bad? You can't even control a 17 or 18-year-old girl? Patrick's face darkened, a rare moment of anger. After the people left, his expression softened, and he rested his chin on my shoulder. You're not angry at all? How could I not be angry? When the system had said everything was over, I could go home, but that would also mark the end of my story with Patrick. The system asked me, do you want to stay? I replied, yes. Patrick confessed his love to me. Before, when I read fairy tales, I always imagined the princess and prince living happily ever after. But now, suddenly, someone barges in and tells me that the story has an unsatisfactory ending. My mind was a mess, and I couldn't sleep, tossing and turning all night. A pair of hands pulled me into their arms. Patrick, half asleep, grabbed my feet and asked, did you wake up from the cold? Skillfully, he tucked my feet into his clothes. Despite shivering from the cold, he hugged me even tighter. Listening to his steady breathing, I shook my head. I pushed all those chaotic thoughts out of my mind. Chapter 3. Noticing that I was in a bad mood, Patrick took over all the arrangements for the wedding. He just told me to relax and wait for the plans to be completed, promising me a grand event, one that happens once in a lifetime. During this time, I returned to work at the company. To my surprise, I saw that girl, the one who called me mom, Violet, at the cafe downstairs. I had suspected whether she was another outsider like me, but the system had made it clear before. Only one outsider could exist in a book. Violet stared at me blankly for a while, then said, this is the first time I've seen you dressed like this. It was just a very ordinary business style, but it seemed to bring up many memories for her. She continued, I don't remember ever seeing you wear high heels. Your hair was always tied back, never let down, because it wasn't convenient for housework. You didn't wear these waist-cinching coats either. They're hard to manage and don't really suit any occasion. Her gaze shifted to my wrist. Your hands are bare. Just a wedding band. Losing one earring would have devastated you. And you only wore simple tubes in your ears to prevent them from closing up. Later, You even forgot about that. And now you don't have ear holes anymore. I smiled at her. That's not true. I don't like that kind of life. What about now? She asked. Although I was still an orphan in this world, the system had given me an identity. I studied here, pursued Patrick, slowly falling in love with him, and made some friends along the way. I had my own circle, my own career, and soon, I would be building a family with the person I loved. So, I wouldn't say what you said. I'm very content with the current situation. I enjoy my work. I grabbed my bag to leave, but Violet reached out and grabbed the corner of my coat. What if you're pregnant? She asked. Chapter 4. I froze. And for the first time, I looked carefully at Violet's brows and eyes. When she frowned, she looked so much like Patrick. That evening, Patrick's kiss slowly moved from my shoulder down to my waist, sending sparks through the fabric. As his fingers began to undo my nightdress, I instinctively grabbed his hand. Patrick stroked my hair, leaning in to kiss my ear. Didn't we say we'd just let things happen naturally? If I have the baby, who will take care of it? Should I give up my job? This is a great time for promotion, and I don't want to miss the opportunity. Patrick froze, and after a long pause, he finally spoke. Vicky, you believe her, don't you? I was taken aback. Since that girl appeared, you've been acting differently. You've started believing what she said, thinking I would disappoint our family and treat you badly. I rubbed my temples. If we let things happen naturally now, these are the things we need to consider. Patrick's voice turned a little heavier. She's just a stranger, but you've already started to base our future on her words. In the darkness, I couldn't see his expression. I lifted the covers and crawled into his arms. When I looked up, I was pricked by the stubble on his chin. These past days, he had been so busy with company matters while replanning the wedding. He was so busy that he hadn't had time to shave. But by the middle of the night, he was still uneasy. I took a day off and went to the hospital for an examination. Sitting in the chair, lost in thought while looking at the test results, Violet came in and sat next to me. My birthday is July 23rd. In 9 months, the test results showed that I was already over a month pregnant. After we planned to get married, Patrick and I had been carefree, not knowing which time had planted the seed. You compromised. No, I immediately denied it. I don't plan on giving up my career. Violet looked at me. That's not what I meant. I froze and remembered the drawer I had opened and closed last night. You didn't start retreating from the very beginning. You retreated step by step. Chapter 5. I looked at Violet, suddenly feeling a bit afraid of what she would say next. As I was leaving, she once again reached out to grab my arm. Do you still not believe me? I said. We're a couple and preparing to get married. Being pregnant is the most normal thing in the world. As for what would happen after the pregnancy, it could be coordinated. It didn't necessarily have to go as she suggested. Half a month from now, Violet closed her eyes. In half a month, you can decide whether or not to tell him. I didn't understand her intention in saying that. That evening, Patrick said something urgent had come up at work and put on his coat to leave. I followed him out. The car didn't head to the office but stopped next to a restaurant. After sitting alone for 15 minutes, a familiar figure pushed open the door. Ruby, it's been a long time. She extended her hand. I thought you wouldn't come. Chapter 6. It had been 4 years since I'd last seen her, and she was still as pure and gentle as described in the book. I subconsciously crumpled the menu, watching Patrick's reaction. Patrick's expression was very cold. I forgot to tell you. He ignored her outstretched hand. Ruby awkwardly withdrew her hand, about to sit down. I'm getting married. Patrick spoke quickly and unconsciously reached for a cigarette. Then he realized it was a public place, paused for a moment, and everything fell back to calm. But only I knew how inappropriate his gesture had been. Married? Ruby nodded. I heard. With Vicky, right? Patrick was so impatient that he looked like he couldn't wait to leave for even a second. I'll leave now. There's still something at the company. Ruby grabbed the hem of his coat, her expression somewhat hurt. Patrick, I know it might be too late for me to turn back now, but at least we can still be friends. You've really helped me a lot in the past. If you can, could you walk with me for a bit? Chapter 7. As soon as she finished speaking, Ruby realized her mistake. She let go of him, stood up first, and said sorry as she walked out of the restaurant. Outside the glass door, I saw her raise her hand to wipe her tears. Patrick stood frozen for a moment. His steps hurried as he walked toward the door. When he pushed it open, he stopped suddenly, turned around, and asked the waiter for a pack of tissues. Through the glass, I couldn't hear what Patrick was saying. I only saw him raise his hand with the coat, then lower it again. In the end, he didn't drape the coat over Ruby, but stood in the wind, shielding her. He still couldn't bring himself to refuse her. The familiar street, yellow leaves scattered messily on the cobblestones, looked a bit lonely. Before Ruby went abroad, Patrick would always pretend to accidentally run into her on the street. His bright eyes would dim when he saw the male lead standing next to her. Each time, I would walk behind him, waiting for him to turn around. Why are you walking back? You're so nicely dressed and even got your hair cut. Isn't it just to walk down the street? Young Patrick would be caught off guard, his expression surprised. I'd say, it's such a shame you're leaving now. The person I'm waiting for also stood me up. Shall we walk together? I'm not waiting for anyone, he'd say, but his ears would turn red. All right. You're not waiting for anyone. Let me invite you then. Actually, I was also wearing nice clothes and had pinned a new hairpin in my hair. But just like Ruby couldn't see him, Patrick couldn't see me. He rejected my invitation. But that didn't stop us from becoming the disappointed companions on that street. After a few times, Patrick couldn't take it anymore. He stopped, turned to me, and said angrily, I'm waiting for her. I'm just waiting for her. Don't waste your time. I looked at him seriously. I'll wait for you too. Patrick froze. I froze too. Chapter 8. Actually, before I was brought to this world, I had already liked Patrick. So when I knew I had to redeem him, I was happy every time. I would think, let's make Patrick a little happier, just a little bit more. The first time we walked down this road together, neither of us spoke. The second, third, and fourth times, we finally started walking side by side. Then came holding hands, kissing, using the fallen leaves as our wedding gown, listening to him secretly confess his love in my ear. I thought, he had so many regrets. I'd make up for them little by little. One day, he would see me, and I'd make him look at me only. The dry twigs underfoot snapped, and the sound made me snap back to reality. Halting my steps, Patrick and Ruby were walking side by side, not speaking, just silently walking down the street from beginning to end. Their figures blurred in my vision. Chapter 9. When Patrick came home, he brought a box of strawberry cake. I had told him before how much I liked that flavor, but unfortunately, it was from a private dessert shop that only had a location in the neighboring city. He took off his coat and walked over to me, holding my cold ankle. Why are you walking on the floor again without shoes? He put my socks back on and shoved my feet into a pair of fluffy slippers. I looked down at his gentle eyes. Where did you go? There was an impromptu meeting. Do they also sell this cake in the meeting room? The air froze for a moment, and Patrick rubbed his forehead. What are you trying to say? I just looked at him without saying anything, and Patrick seemed a little irritated by my scrutinizing gaze. How long are you going to keep doubting and getting paranoid over things that don't even make sense? My heart felt like it was being tightly squeezed, both sour and bitter. Didn't you meet with Ruby? Patrick froze, then reacted, his face full of disbelief. You were spying on me? Chapter 10. He sighed long and hard. She came back to the country a couple of days ago, and I only found out today. We were just catching up with old friends. She didn't only meet with me. You should have told me. I didn't want you to overthink. Patrick reached for a cigarette, glanced at me, then stopped. Since you've already seen, you know we just met once. Just once? A bitter laugh escaped my throat. Patrick frowned. Can we stop with this sarcastic tone? Did we kiss? Were we being ambiguous? Or did we sleep together? No, none of that. We didn't even hold hands. To everyone else, it was indeed just one meeting. Am I too possessive? Am I being petty? I had seen Patrick like Ruby before, when they were close. Even when there was ambiguity, it didn't feel like this. But this time it's different. He asked. How is it different? I said. How could you walk that road with me, then walk it with someone else? He replied. It's just a road. Just a road? I waited for him on that road. For so long. So long. Through wind, rain, thunder, and scorching sun. I waited for so long. Just to see him turn back. In his eyes. It was just a road. One that could be walked by anyone. Insignificant? Then why did you wait there every day before? Patrick suddenly froze. You understand, don't you? You were just like me back then. You knew it wasn't the same. Chapter 11. I can't remember the last time Patrick and I had a Cold War. But this time, our friends were more anxious than we were. After the last wedding was ruined, they had been eagerly waiting for the next one. It felt like they were waiting for some sort of resolution. He met with Ruby. There was a brief silence on the other end of the phone. Then a cautious voice asked, "What did they do?" I realized I couldn't bring myself to explain. It seemed like everyone thought they had just taken a walk together. Nothing serious. Was I being too sensitive? It's probably nothing, right? The response was exactly what I had imagined. They walked together openly. Can we really say that they've let go of the past? Vicky, honestly, are you being influenced by what that girl said? They urged me to think of the good things. When talking about my past with Patrick, my friends always spoke with great enthusiasm. In the first year of our relationship, on Christmas Eve, Patrick took a night train just to give me my first Christmas apple, to experience the first snow of winter with me. He stood under my dormitory building for several hours. When I groggily went out for my 8 a.m. class, he pulled me into his arms. Patrick, what are you doing here? You said so. He repeated the message I had sent him, saying that it meant sharing the snow. Growing old together. Patrick wasn't good at handcrafts, but because I liked embroidery, he learned to use a needle and thread. He often pricked his fingers, leaving his hands covered in blood. Even my wedding shoes were designed and hand-embroidered by him. He stayed up countless nights working on them, almost giving himself a face paralysis from exhaustion. When they shared these memories with me, their eyes always lit up. It felt like it was just yesterday. Yes, we had so many memories between us. They had only met after 4 years, walked together for a little while. That didn't mean we didn't love each other. Chapter 12. I excitedly told Violet about the past. Do you know? That winter, he stood in the snow. He stood for hours, just to watch the first snow with you. Violet interrupted me, taking over the story. He'd often go to the neighboring city to buy you your favorite strawberry cakes. And he knitted matching scarves for you too. You both wore the same scarf and almost got hit by a car. He held you tightly, and you both rolled to the street corner just to avoid it. She spoke so familiarly, as if someone had told her these stories many times. I stopped, took a sip of coffee. We really loved each other after we got married, didn't we? Violet suddenly fell silent. She rarely did that. You're always trying so hard to prove to me that you two are in love. But Mom, how can you live your whole life on just memories? If you really loved each other so much, why do you keep telling me these stories? I realized, without meaning to, that my hand holding the coffee was shaking. I gripped the spoon tightly and stirred the coffee. Their meeting, did I also tell you about it? Violet shook her head. You never say anything bad about him in front of me. She wrote down a string of numbers on a piece of paper and pushed it toward me. This is what I saw here. Chapter 13. The note had an email address on it. I didn't log in to check, my fingers lightly brushing over the password. My moon? When I got home, there were large bunches of freshly cut flowers on the table and an unfinished embroidery project. Patrick had come home early. He was standing in the kitchen, wearing an apron, making me some brown sugar water. Patrick remembered my menstrual cycle. He used to make brown sugar and jujube tea in the dorm, put it in a thermos, and bring it to me. He would also buy me hand warmers, portable warmers, and even knitted scarves with our names embroidered on them. Welcome back. He poked his head out from the kitchen. Patrick brought the warm sugar water over, slowly stirring it until it was at a comfortable temperature. You're late this time. Are you feeling okay? I shook my head. We've been together for 4 years, and we've had our fair share of arguments. Most of the time, Patrick would lower his head, like now, and let things settle naturally. As I ate the jujube, he was worried I would bend over and feel uncomfortable, so he held out his hand for me to spit out the pit. Then he gently rubbed my stomach. "Did you have dinner outside?" His palm pressed against the thin woolen sweater. I wondered if, through the 2 layers of fabric, he could feel my heartbeat, which belonged to him too. I had a little. "If you're hungry later, I'll make something for you." Patrick squatted down and showed me the wedding plans he had printed out. "We'll set the wedding for this date, all right? I've had it checked. It's not as good as last time, but it's the best for this year. We'll change the hotel to this one. And for the honeymoon, we'll go to that little island you've always wanted to visit. I've arranged everything already, and we can stay there for a while. The weather's great there." His plan was very thorough, and he even emphasized the security arrangements with the hotel to prevent anyone from causing trouble. As he said this, he gently kissed the back of my hand. When his lips brushed against the ring on my middle finger, he looked slightly regretful. "It should have been on your ring finger by now." I gently touched his face with the back of my hand. "Is there anything else you want to tell me?" He looked up at me, his gaze a little dazed. I resisted the urge to speak and waited patiently. I asked again, "Is there? If there is, tell me now." Chapter 14. I wanted to have an open and honest conversation with Patrick. Even if he had countless moments of missing Ruby in the past, I would forgive him as long as he told me the truth, even without needing to apologize. But Patrick just looked at me intently, as sincere as he had been in all his previous confessions. "No, I know her appearance has made you think a lot. Our last meeting was just a goodbye. We won't have any contact from now on." I slowly withdrew my fingers and smiled. I didn't ask any more questions. The week before the wedding, Patrick ran into some issues with his project and had to go on a business trip. Before he left, he prepared fruits and meals and carefully arranged them in the fridge. "Eat well. Wait for me to come back." I logged into the email Violet had given me. Patrick's phone had always been set up to recognize my fingerprint, and I could freely check his stuff. This kind of open trust had made me never feel the need to snoop into his social media. This email wasn't connected to any of Patrick's apps. There were hundreds of emails in the sent box, but the recipient was always the same. No name, only the symbol of the moon in the input method. "Happy birthday. I hope you're happy every day." The moon was especially round this mid-autumn festival. "This song is definitely your style. It's very quiet, but the chorus is lively. It's snowing, earlier than usual. Embroidered moon, knitted scarf, brown sugar cube, 500 milliliters of water. Add 5 jujubes. It helps with blood and relieves pain." They set off fireworks at Ho Lake, but they were complained about for being too late. "Your topic this time is very special." The speech went smoothly, and you took first place. "Happy graduation." In the drafts, there were 2 unsent emails. One said, "I'm getting married," and the other was a photo of the moon taken the night they walked together on Wutong Street. None of these emails had ever been opened. It seemed that after Ruby went abroad, she had abandoned this old means of communication. Even though there had been no response, Patrick still remembered to wish her well every holiday and kept track of all her important moments. For a full 4 years. The 4 years we were together. Chapter 15. I suddenly remembered countless moments. I remembered that one early morning when we sat by Ho Lake, chatting. I had dozed off, leaning against Patrick's shoulder. When I woke up to the sound of fireworks, I saw him editing a message. "Hey, why is the security here?" They caught the group setting off illegal fireworks. I watched with interest as those people were chased by security on motorcycles, not paying attention to who Patrick was going to share this funny scene with. I remembered that year when Patrick waited for me with a thermos under my dorm building. When I saw him, he was staring at his phone in a daze. It wasn't until I tapped him that he came back to his senses and asked me how I was feeling during the cycle. "You're just too worried." "I'm really not in that much pain. And after drinking your improved version, I really feel no discomfort." Patrick smiled in relief, extending a scarf to me. I looked at the delicate leaf at the end of the scarf, surprised to the point that my voice trembled. "You knitted this?" After getting his confirmation, I excitedly placed a kiss on his face. I remembered that one anniversary. Patrick and I had a big argument. We had a silent treatment for nearly a week, both of us too stubborn to send even a single message to make up. But in the meantime, Patrick had sent an email to Ruby, wishing her success in a debate competition. Chapter 16. So many moments from the past that I had overlooked, all connected when I saw the emails. It turned out that the first scarf he made wasn't for me. Before he embroidered the leaf, he had first embroidered a moon. The songs he liked weren't the ones he first shared with me. When he started his internship, got promoted, and secured his first $1 million project, I wasn't the first to know. Every time I posted something, Patrick would like and comment on it, but he still occasionally forgot about one of my posts where I had tagged him. Even on the first day we were together, he deleted Ruby from his WeChat, and I never saw anyone else's presence on his social platforms. But he knew exactly when Ruby had a competition, what projects she participated in, and what awards she won. Then he would send her blessings. I closed my eyes, but tears still slid down my cheeks, soaking my face. My stomach hurt, and I crouched down by the sofa, vomiting by the trash can. The ring on my finger was glaring. I slowly slid it off. It was swollen and hurt as it got stuck at the joint. I yanked it off and threw it in the trash can. Chapter 17. I went to the cafe to find Violet. From a distance, she looked much paler than when I first met her. The one-size apron hung on her thin waist, and when she squatted down, she looked like a little shrimp. She furrowed her brows, as if in pain. I quickly walked over and helped her up. "What's wrong?" I tried to stop a car to take her to the hospital, but Violet grabbed my arm and straightened up. She shook her head. "It's nothing. Probably just an upset stomach." Her gaze fell on my bare finger, and Violet's lips curved into a faint smile. I asked her, "Did we part in an undignified way?" Her smile suddenly froze, and she gripped my finger tightly, exposing the white underneath, but her eyes grew red. After a moment of silence, I hugged her. "I'm sorry. I must have scared you back then." Violet couldn't hold back anymore. Tears fell in large drops, soaking into my neck. Mom. I looked at her trembling shoulders and gently stroked her soft hair. "Mom, let me take you to eat something good. Can you forgive the future version of her?" Chapter 18. Violet said she wanted to eat the food I made. I guess orphans should be good at cooking, but I've always been a bit rough around the edges. As long as I can stay alive and get enough to eat, I don't really care much about the taste. Seeing Violet so hungry, I quickly made a simple egg fried rice with 2 quick veggies. She ate heartily, choking several times. "Slow down." I patted her back, feeling the sharp protruding bones on her back. "She's so thin. How can she be so thin? She seemed so strong at the wedding, and looked like she had some meat on her. How did you manage?" "After we broke up, did he marry someone else? Did they bully you? Were we close before? Was I a good mother?" Violet chewed her food and answered clearly without hesitation. "We were great. You are the best mom in the world." Looking into her bright eyes, I suddenly felt so happy. "Really?" She nodded firmly. "Really." Chapter 19. Violet said she wanted to go to the beach with me. I agreed. I thought I must have gone to the beach with her many times in my past life. When I took Violet to the airport, Patrick called. He had just returned from his business trip. "Why aren't you at home? Sneaking out to work again? I told you not to work so hard. Why hasn't the food in the fridge been touched? Are you dieting again?" Actually, I had already moved out, but hadn't taken anything with me. Those things, I didn't want them anymore. Patrick kept rambling on. "Don't push yourself before the wedding, skipping meals and working overtime. How are you going to hold up? It's going to be a tough battle. I'm afraid you'll pass out on stage. I brought you a gift. Are you sure you're not coming back to check it out?" "Forget it. I'll come pick you up. It's been a week. I really miss you." I didn't say anything. Patrick's voice paused. "Vicky, did you hear me?" Until the airport announcement came through the speaker, he finally realized something was wrong and asked where I was. I looked at Violet, who had run over with drinks, and patted her ear. I spoke calmly. "Patrick, let's break up." Chapter 20. Violet really knows how to choose. The island was warm and bright, and just looking at the sunset washed away all the fatigue of the day. The only downside was that when we landed, my phone was almost blown up by Patrick's calls. Violet excitedly picked a seaside room, and I put Patrick on the blacklist. Shutting off my phone, I thought she had gotten even thinner. She had been eating properly with me, had a balanced diet, but her face had no flesh at all. I noticed she had many scars on her body, on her head, arms, and legs. They were especially obvious when she wore a skirt. The scar on her neck looked fresh and was eye-catching. I unconsciously touched it. "You were hurt?" She turned her head and rubbed against my hand, smiling at me. "Oh, Mom, you don't know. I love extreme sports. All these scars are from falling." She pointed to her head. "This one's from rock climbing. The rope wasn't tied properly, and I hit a rock." "And the neck? Who did this? Did someone bully you?" "Come on." Violet jumped up, like a little skeleton. "I used to be a big sister. Who would dare bully me?" "This one's from falling asleep in class, and the pen poked my neck when I didn't hold my head properly." In Violet's words, she used to be a little hellraiser, and I was always terrified, trying to stop her from playing these dangerous games. Violet wouldn't let me look too closely at the scars and dragged me to the beach to build sandcastles. Even though she was almost an adult, she still played around with the kids, tricking them into giving her props and running back to show me what she'd made. She really did seem like the little troublemaker she used to be. Violet built a big mound in the sand, but it was hard to tell what it was. "This is..." She crawled into the sand pile and then crawled out. I finally understood. "This is like you gave birth to me." I rubbed my belly, unsure why it had been so quiet lately. The same child, one inside, one outside. "This feeling is really strange," I joked. "Will I have two Violets when she's born?" Violet's movements suddenly slowed down. The sea breeze ruffled her hair, and her pale face seemed like it would disappear into the wind. "Mom." She slowly knelt down beside me, her head gently resting against my belly. "Please, have her aborted. Please, okay?" Chapter 21. I froze, shaking my head. "She's you. If she's gone, what will happen when there's no you?" "Well, then Mommy can just raise a little dog." "Have I ever raised a little dog?" Violet mimicked. "Yeah, a little rascal dog. Just like me, always keeping you on edge. Such a bad little thing. Before you picked her up, she was just a stray puppy. Like you?" I laughed. "How could she be a stray puppy?" Violet tilted her head and looked at me. "Your little dog would always be brought home by me." Chapter 22. Lately, I've felt an overwhelming sense of unease. The sun was shining brightly, and Violet was riding a jet ski in the ocean, waving at me from afar. But I had this nagging feeling, a sense that she might not come back. I held a towel, waiting for her to return to the shore so I could wipe her off, otherwise she'd be covered in sand. "Vicky." I turned around and saw Patrick, whom I hadn't seen in nearly half a month. He looked much thinner, with unshaven stubble and chapped lips. "What are you doing here? Why can't I be here? You just left without a word. Didn't say anything." Halfway through his words, his gaze fell on my slightly swollen belly. His lips trembled. "You're pregnant? Why didn't you tell me?" I spoke coldly. "Because there's no need. This is my child." "Vicky, why did you leave before the wedding?" I said. "This child won't have anything to do with you." I didn't want to talk any further. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. "Come back with me." Patrick closed his eyes. "No matter why you suddenly sentenced me to death, at least give me a chance to explain. Let's go back and talk things through. Don't do this. Don't treat me like this." Looking at his painful expression, I felt a strange sense of mockery and yet a trace of sadness in my heart. "Patrick, you still have regrets, don't you?" I had felt it the first moment I saw that email password. My moon. The more than 1,000 days and nights we spent together could never fill that void. Chapter 23. To this day, nothing ever happened between them. He could still explain that they simply met once, or at worst, that he had sent over 100 emails over the past 4 years without any response. At most, it was just a one-sided attempt to reach out to a friend. But then, during the 17 years of our marriage, they must have met many times, eaten meals together as friends, and he had probably walked her home many times. And then, at some point, unknowingly, it started with hand-holding, hugging, kissing, and eventually, sleeping together. For me, it went from guilt to disgust. Perhaps when he confessed, Patrick truly loved me and had thought about being with me for life. But no one is ever in love from the start. This time, I chose to leave him here. Chapter 24. I broke free from Patrick's grip and went to reach for Violet. Suddenly, I felt a wave of dizziness. The sun in my line of sight split into two, and I blinked. It felt like the first day I came here. Patrick caught me, but was kicked away by Violet, who had sprinted toward us. Get away! Don't touch her! The small, frail figure seemed to have an unusual strength, able to kick someone much larger than her a meter away. Patrick clutched his chest in pain. It's you again. You took her away from me. He staggered, trying to stand, but Violet grabbed him and forced him down onto the sand. Don't you dare try to keep her. You bastard. You don't deserve her. My vision grew blurrier, and I wanted to pull them apart. But my legs had no strength. Something warm slid down my thigh. Patrick's face filled with shock. He threw Violet off and tried to crawl toward me. I looked down and saw a blurry red stain. The baby, my baby. I unconsciously looked at Violet. She looked at me, her eyes full of sorrow. But she smiled. The scene in front of me rapidly faded away, and everything seemed to grow more distant. Mom, I heard Violet scream hoarsely. Let's go home. I love you, Mom. Chapter 25. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the original world, back to the 18-year-old version of myself, before I had entered the storybook world. Everything felt like just a dream. When I woke up, nothing had happened. The book in my arms was warm from my body heat. I flipped open the pages and found that the ending had changed. The second male lead, who had been absent for most of the second half of the book, had turned into the male lead, and my name was now on the female lead spot. The sweet romance where the female lead redeemed the male lead had become a dark, painful story where the male lead went mad trying to win the female lead back. After I disappeared, Patrick went insane. He really went insane. The book's original text read, blood slowly flowed down from Vicky's legs, and Violet's face grew paler. Patrick crawled toward her, but no matter how he crawled, Vicky remained too far away. He chased her into the sea, his body sinking deeper, unable to stop himself from wanting to punch Violet away. But all he met with was air. Violet was disappearing, turning into a pool of blood, and the blood left on the beach slowly gathered together. Eventually, like Vicky, she vanished without a trace. Patrick nearly drowned in the sea. After being rescued, he called the police. It's the crazy man who was interrogated at your station before. She took my wife, caused her to miscarry, and now she's disappeared. Why aren't you searching? Find her. The confused looks from the police made Patrick even angrier. He realized that, apart from him, everyone else seemed to have collectively forgotten. No one remembered Vicky, and no one remembered Violet. Patrick couldn't accept it. He called everyone he once knew, wedding guests, and even tracked down Ruby. The answers he received were all the same. Ruby held Patrick, her eyes filled with sympathy. You're sick. You look terrible. Let's go for a walk, okay? Yeah. Patrick coldly stared at her. It's because I walked that path with you that she's blaming me. And then, he ran madly down the road. Ruby tried to stop him, but was dragged to the ground, tears welling up in her eyes. Patrick finally stopped. Ruby said, Patrick, carry me to the hospital. I don't blame you. Patrick only stared at her, his gaze intense. There. Ruby turned and saw a pile of fallen leaves. Do you know? We once rolled in the pile of leaves and kissed. Vicky said the golden sycamore leaves were her wedding dress. She thought Patrick had gone mad. Eventually, they found an opportunity to send Patrick to the hospital, where the doctors diagnosed him with bipolar disorder. He spent every day doing nothing, no longer going to work, and whenever he could, he would sneak out. He searched everywhere for news about Vicky, and his family could no longer stand it, so they sent him to a psychiatric hospital for forced treatment. Patrick refused to believe it. He kept calling his old friends, wedding guests, even tracked down Ruby. The answer was always the same. Ruby hugged Patrick, Her eyes filled with sorrow. You're sick. You look terrible. Let's go for a walk, okay? Patrick stared coldly at her. It's because I walked that path with you. She blames me. Then he ran madly down the road. Ruby tried to stop him but was dragged down to the ground, tears streaming down her face. Patrick finally stopped. Ruby said, "Patrick, take me to the hospital. I don't blame you." Patrick just stared at her, his gaze intense. There. Ruby turned around and saw a pile of fallen leaves. "Do you know? We once rolled in the pile of leaves and kissed." Vicky said the golden sycamore leaves were her wedding dress. Ruby thought Patrick had gone mad. Finally, they found an opportunity to get Patrick to the hospital, where the doctors diagnosed him with bipolar disorder. He did nothing all day long, didn't go to work anymore, and when he found the chance, he would sneak out. He searched everywhere for news about Vicky. His family couldn't take it anymore and sent him to a psychiatric hospital for forced treatment. Patrick refused to believe it. He knew Vicky existed. It was the others who had forgotten her. Their minds had failed, not his. He couldn't understand that this was the world of the book. He had a chance at happiness, but he had ruined the ending himself. Chapter 26. 18 is such a wonderful age. That year, I was accepted into my dream university and also received the rewards for tasks completed by the system earlier. At that time, I had chosen family. I was so eager to have a family of my own. And now, I have loving parents, grandparents who care for me. I studied hard and was among the top students in my class. Mom and Dad would come to visit me at school during every holiday, taking me on trips. I have many friends and am no longer lonely. I smoothly completed my studies and built my own career. I often think of Violet. In the book, her ending was simply to disappear. There were no additional stories to follow. One day, I saw a dirty stray puppy by the side of the road. It was thin and fragile but surprisingly full of energy, hopping up and down the wall, using its small size to its advantage. Someone tried to help it, but it was too clever, and they couldn't catch it. Until I stepped in myself. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to grab it by the neck. I was worried it might bite me, but instead, the little thing just stared at me for a few seconds before rubbing its little head against my hand. Hey, this little creature has two faces? The person who had tried to rescue it before gritted their teeth. It almost bit me the other day. How is it so tame with Vicky? I parted the fur on the puppy's body and saw that it was even smaller than I had thought. It had many wounds, especially around its neck, where a patch of fur had been completely rubbed off. I wasn't sure if it had been from fighting or if someone had abused it. But when I touched it, it didn't shy away. I brought it home to my big yard, where there were many other dogs. The little thing froze, its watery eyes staring at me. Over the years, I've established several animal rescue shelters. Since one person couldn't handle it alone, I had others who shared my passion manage them. But this yard was different. The dogs here all had one characteristic. I gently rocked my arm, wiping away the puppy's tears. Mom always said, "Dogs like you don't end up as strays." Violet. Welcome home. Extra story, Violet's perspective. Chapter 1. I lied to Mom. In reality, my relationship with her wasn't good at all. When I was little, I loved my mom very much. Dad was busy with work, so I saw him very rarely. Only Mom was there with me. She played with me, slept with me, and took me to school. A gentle person by nature, she would argue with others when they bullied me, her neck flushing red in frustration. But she was alone, so I asked her, "Why doesn't Dad come?" Mom would always squat down and gently hug me, saying, "Dad's too busy with work." Violet, look, your beautiful dress was bought by Dad with his hard work. Then why doesn't Mom work? Actually, I didn't know. Mom had worked before. She hired a nanny to take care of me, but I couldn't bear to be away from her. I had severe separation anxiety when I was young. Every time I saw her leave, I would cry until my throat went hoarse, cry until I had a fever. But I don't remember any of this. In my memory, Mom was always by my side. As I grew older, I started to get frustrated with her constantly controlling me. Don't eat too many candies. You'll get cavities. Wear more clothes when you go out. I'll put a thick coat on you. I thought she was being annoying and overly cautious. Her taste was terrible. Yet she always bought me clothes that made me the subject of ridicule. So when she asked me to try on another new outfit, I snapped. You don't understand fashion. You have no sense of style. Can you stop buying me all these outdated things? So annoying. I didn't know. She had actually been looking through many websites and reviews in private. She thought young people would like this kind of style. Mom, holding the clothes in one arm, showed them to me, still in her soft, gentle voice. This fabric is good for your skin. You're very delicate, so you should care more about material than style. This one won't cause any allergies. So annoying. It's so ugly. If you like it, why don't you wear it yourself? No wonder Dad doesn't want to come home. Who would want to talk to someone who's so out of touch? I don't want it. I don't want it. Don't you understand? Chapter 2. Mom froze. She silently held the clothes, staying silent for a long time before folding them up. Every time I yelled at her, I always regretted it. But my teenage pride overpowered everything. I couldn't bring myself to apologize. Anyway, she wouldn't remember these things. In a couple of days, she would start nagging again. Sure enough, after putting away the clothes, she sat down by my bed again in the evening. Your dad isn't unwilling to come home. He's just too busy. She started telling me stories about how they wore scarves together in the winter, how he brought her brown sugar water during her period, how he personally embroidered their wedding shoes, all those old stories. I was so tired of hearing them. I said, you keep saying how great he is, but why are all the stories still from before you got married? She was stunned for a long time, then said, your dad brought me strawberry cake a few days ago. Strawberry cake again. How could she be like this? A box of strawberry cake made her happy, but other wealthy wives at least had jewelry. Yet I never saw her enjoy anything else. No, Mom liked little dogs. A few times, we passed by a pet store, and she couldn't take her eyes off the furry little dogs in the window. But I was allergic to dog hair, so she wouldn't even enter the store. I always thought she only liked strawberry cake and little dogs. Until now, I realized she also liked fried rice, liked Chinese broccoli, and liked these little green peas. I had never seen any of these things on our table before. I thought she didn't like them. I ate greedily, but my arms itched more and more. Looking at her gentle eyes, I held back the urge to scratch. It was because of me. Tears welled up in my eyes. I remembered how, after my graduation exams, Mom was so excited, planning a family trip. She had been looking forward to it for a long time, but I found it boring. I wanted to try riding a motorbike with my friends. Those activities were dangerous. She always tried to dissuade me. That night, I sneaked out, but she caught me, going to the beach with the family. How tacky. Fine, fine. I'll go with you. Just stop bothering me. I'm almost an adult now. I want my freedom. Your dad rarely gets time off. Let's stay for a few more days. She didn't know. Dad had already told me he had something else to do that day. He must have been tired of her nagging, and didn't want to directly tell her, so he had me go along with her for a couple of days. I was eager to ride the motorbike, so I pulled my hand away from hers and rushed out. Mom couldn't stop me. She grabbed my coat and followed me, texting me along the way. Violet, wait for me. I won't stop you. It's cold tonight. If you don't wear something thicker, your rhinitis will flare up. Please take your coat. I was worried she would keep chasing me, so I had the driver stop the car, rolled down the window, and waited for her to pass it to me. But there was no sign of her, until a loud crash came from behind. Mom, holding my coat, fell into a pool of blood, and across the road, I saw Dad, and the woman holding his arm. Chapter 3. My mom will never speak again. She won't cry, won't laugh, and won't sit in front of the computer comparing fabrics and styles anymore. She won't nag me anymore. Dad came over to hug me, and I punched him in the nose. I bit him, slapped him, pinched him. In the hospital, I yelled at him like a madwoman, calling him shameless, accusing him of keeping a mistress outside. He didn't fight back. He just pinned me to the ground and took me home, locking me up. I couldn't leave the house, but the friends I had made before were still useful. I had them go and block Ruby, and they sent me photos of her getting her head bashed in. I still didn't feel satisfied. I wasn't just going to make that slut suffer. I wanted my dad to regret it too. I searched for evidence of their affair. When I found it, I planned to expose it and ruin his company. I found an email. Dad was like a simp to that woman. So cautious and careful. He had met with her not long after marrying Mom. At first, they only met once. Later, they met many times. I didn't know when it started, but they must have ended up in bed. I frantically copied all this information, and before I could share it, Dad found out. He slapped me after Mom died. It was the first time he hit me. I could only bite his hand, my mouth full of blood. Let her sue me. Huh? Does she have the face to sue me? Patrick, do you have any shame? Send me to jail, even if you die. It won't ease my hatred. My mom will never come back. Patrick not only locked me up but also took away all my electronic devices. He wouldn't let me leave, so I slammed my head against the wall until I was bleeding. And even if someone died, they couldn't hide it. But these things were happening too slowly. There were fewer and fewer sharp objects in the room. When I was saved again, I turned my attention to the needle for the 4. I stared into the mirror and pierced the carotid artery in my neck. Chapter 4. In my blurry state, I heard someone speaking to me. I thought I hadn't died after all. I heard that voice ask, "What would you exchange?" Mom. Mom? Oh, the one who came in over 20 years ago. She was advised not to stay back then. Otherwise, why would sweet stories only end with hearts in sync? Mom, do you want to save her? Mom, if you change the past, you won't be born. How strange. I told you, if you regret it, you can go back. She hasn't had a good life all these years. But why has she never summoned me to take her back? Why? Why does she always try to hold back tears, then pretend nothing happened? Why does she never get mad at me, even when I was the one who was wrong? She still apologized to me? I suddenly remembered how I cried so hard when she left when I was little. I had a high fever. She knelt beside my bed, touching my hair. Violet, dear, don't cry. Don't cry. Mom's here with you. Mom won't go anywhere, okay? Don't cry. Mom's not leaving. Do you want to go back and help her, even if it means losing your life? Mom, once time rewinds, there's no going back. Little one, do you want your life? Or, Mom, as memories and reality overlapped, I suddenly sat up in bed. Under the bright light, the bride's smile was as radiant as flowers, so beautiful that I couldn't look away. It was Mom, my mom. Chapter 5. After I died, I wanted to be a little dog, the kind of little dog Mom had always liked, but never kept because I was allergic. But would Mom recognize me? I made friends with many little dogs, searching all over the world for Mom. One of my dog friends told me that there was someone who looked very much like Mom. Far, far away. I ran and ran, for a very long time. Finally, at a street corner, a large net fell over my head. Warm hands lifted me up, and I smelled a familiar scent. It was Mom. Woof woof woof. This little dog is quite fierce, others said, but I wasn't being fierce. I was calling, Mom. Little dogs love their moms too. Story 2. After being reborn into the 1980s, I rejected Oliver, who would one day become a major general. Instead, I chose Pablo, a villager who made a living gathering pig grass. My mother thought I had lost my mind. After all, the entire village knew that the village chief's daughter used to chase after Oliver, the educated youth from the city, threatening to kill herself if she couldn't marry him. I recalled my past life. After marrying Oliver, we never shared a true marital relationship. He even brought a child home shortly after our wedding, claiming the child was the orphan of a fallen comrade. I treated the child as my own and raised him with care and love. It wasn't until our golden wedding anniversary that I accidentally entered the study, a room Oliver had forbidden me from entering. What I saw there shattered my heart. The walls were covered with photographs of my older sister, the village belle who had passed away long ago. It turned out that Oliver wasn't incapable of loving. He had stayed celibate all these years in memory of my sister. The betrayal and heartbreak overwhelmed me, sending me to the hospital. But it wasn't illness that ended my life. It was the very child I had raised. As he removed my oxygen mask, He sneered. If it weren't for you, that old hag taking my mother's place, she wouldn't have died as a shadowy, hidden lover. After my death, I watched as Oliver and my sister were buried together as husband and wife. Meanwhile, my ashes were carelessly discarded into a muddy ditch. Reborn into this life, I decided to fulfill their wish. Chapter 1. On the third day after I changed my marriage partner, I ran into Oliver on the ox cart heading to town. The group of educated youths riding with him were full of sneering glee when they saw me. Oliver, Luna's like your loyal dog. She's sniffed you out and come chasing again. Luna, you're about to have your wedding feast. Yet you're still clinging so tightly, can't even let Oliver come to town without following him? Oliver's expression darkened when he saw me, his impatience plain to see. Luna, are you that desperate to get married? Without my consent. You got your family to start preparing for the feast. Now the whole village thinks I'm marrying you. Some uneducated farm girl. You really take the cake. The disdain in his gaze struck me like a blow to the chest. After a long pause, I finally retorted, I don't need your consent. I'm not marrying you. As soon as the words left my mouth, the entire cart erupted in laughter. The educated youths close to Oliver laughed so hard they were in tears. Oliver, you'd better comfort your little wife. Otherwise, she'll come up with another way to get your attention. Oliver's frown deepened, his brows knitting tightly. Luna, have you learned to play hard to get now? If there's a wedding feast happening in the village, who else would you be marrying if not me? And let's not forget, since I came to this village, you've been chasing after me. Who in the village doesn't know you'd rather die than marry anyone else? Leaning closer, he whispered into my ear, stop playing these little tricks. I'll give you some dignity and have a feast in the village with you, but don't expect anything more. His words sent a chill down my spine. Could he have been reborn too? In my previous life, we only held a wedding feast but never officially registered our marriage. Before I could dwell on the thought, my cousin Helen appeared beside the ox cart. When she saw Oliver leaning close to me, tears suddenly streamed down her face. Oliver, I know you're about to have a feast with Luna. I just came to wish you happiness. With that, she turned and ran off in tears. Oliver shot me a venomous glare before jumping off the cart to chase after her. Chapter 2. As their retreating figures disappeared into the distance, I couldn't help but recall the events of my past life. After Oliver and I held a wedding feast in the village, he used my father's old comrade's recommendation letter to enter the military. With the protection and guidance of my father's comrade, he climbed the ranks step by step. Despite being married, we never had a proper marital relationship. Even the child in our home was an orphan he claimed to have adopted from a comrade who had died in the line of duty. I assumed he had his reasons, so I poured my heart into raising that child. It wasn't until I accidentally entered Oliver's study that I discovered his heart had always belonged to Helen. My cousin. He wasn't incapable of intimacy, he had remained celibate for Helen. When the betrayal sent me into a faint, the child I had raised with love and care pulled the oxygen mask off my face, sneering, if it weren't for you, that old hag stealing my mom's place, my mom wouldn't have died as a hidden mistress. So, all those years, I had been raising their child. After my death, Oliver and Helen were buried together as husband and wife, while my ashes were carelessly tossed into a muddy ditch. If their love was so steadfast, why did they have to drag me into their mess and ruin my life? Reborn into this life, I resolved to watch them bring about their own destruction. When the two returned, their hands were tightly clasped. Oliver carefully helped Helen onto the ox cart, and only after they sat down did I notice the details. Helen's lips were red and wet, while Oliver had a noticeable red mark on his neck. Everyone on the cart stared at me, waiting for me to make a scene. After all, in my previous life, any time I saw Oliver getting close to another woman, I would throw a tantrum and forbid him from associating with them. Oliver looked at me warily, as if ready for me to lash out at Helen, but as the moments passed and I remained silent, Oliver's expression shifted to one of surprise. Then he let out a cold laugh. Looks like you've finally learned to behave since we're about to get married. At least you're not acting up like before. I ignored him and left the cart as soon as we reached the town. After finishing my shopping and waiting for the ox cart to return, Oliver caught up with me. It's getting dark. Let's head back together. he said, knowing it wasn't safe to travel alone at night. I didn't refuse. When the cart arrived, I tried to sit next to the old driver, but Oliver blocked my way. You can sit up front with the old man, he said before carefully helping Helen onto the cart. Helen chimed in with an apologetic smile. Sorry, Luna, Oliver's just worried about me. It's too cramped if we all sit together. I didn't respond and took my seat on the bumpy front row, as I had originally planned. Throughout the ride, Oliver and Helen's laughter filled the air. As the night grew colder, Helen leaned into Oliver, complaining that she was cold and asking him to warm her hands. They held hands, their bodies moving closer, their breathing growing heavier. Suddenly, Oliver's gaze snapped toward me, as if he had just remembered my presence. When he saw me sitting quietly, not looking back, his expression darkened. Instead of stopping, he raised his voice, teasing Helen even more. When we reached the village, Oliver did something unexpected. He grabbed my hand and stuffed a wildflower into it. All right, stop pretending you don't care, he said condescendingly. Take this flower as my apology gift. If you keep behaving like today, I'll hold the wedding feast with you. At least the village will think you're my wife. I immediately caught the implied meaning behind his words. And outside the village, who will your wife be? Helen? The flash of anger and guilt on his face was quickly replaced by a smug grin, as if he was proud I had figured it out. I knew you were pretending. Fine. Don't tell your parents about this. What Helen and I share is something you wouldn't understand. She's gentle and thoughtful, unlike your loud, pushy self. If you upset her, don't blame me for refusing to show up to the wedding feast. How laughable. He was the one playing both sides, yet he expected me to swallow my grievances in silence. Looking at the wildflower in my hand, I scoffed. He had chased me for so long, but he didn't even remember that I was allergic to pollen. Oh, by the way, lend me 15 yuan. I need to buy some books. I'll pay you back once I get money from home, Oliver said casually. He had said this countless times before, yet he never once paid me back. I sneered, turned, and walked away, leaving Oliver shouting my name angrily behind me. When I got home, the first thing I saw was Helen showing off a new watch on her wrist. I immediately recognized it as one of the expensive items from the department store in town. Luna, look at this watch. It's so expensive, 15 yuan, she said smugly. The watch and her expression pricked at my heart. Seeing my dazed state, she leaned in close and whispered, Did Oliver tell you? He's always loved me, not you. My dear sister, you've lived a good life for so long. Now it's my turn to be the Major General's wife. So, Helen had been reborn too. Chapter 3. No wonder Helen, who had always looked down on the educated youths in her last life, eagerly sought out Oliver now. I thought back to my previous life, when I entered the military base as a military spouse. My father's old comrade immediately treated me like a goddaughter, because I was Oliver's wife. He went out of his way to look after him, ensuring Oliver rose through the ranks to become the youngest major general. Oliver's parents believed I was a lucky charm and never looked down on me for being from a rural village. On the contrary, they treated me exceptionally well. Despite Oliver's cold attitude toward me, I thought I was fortunate until I realized on my deathbed how utterly wrong I had been. Helen, seeing my stunned expression, walked off like a victorious rooster, proud and smug. Not long after, my mother pushed open the door and told me the wedding feast was ready, and I'd be marrying Pablo in 3 days. I was surprised he had agreed to the marriage. Pablo was infamous in the village for his poverty and reclusive nature. Few people were willing to interact with him. In my previous life, shortly after my wedding, I had heard rumors that Pablo had offended someone powerful and was taken away, never to return. But my intuition told me there was more to the story than what people said. Once, I had seen some village thugs deliberately bully and insult Pablo, only for him to fight back with surprising ruthlessness, leaving them badly beaten. At the time, I thought Pablo wasn't as easy to push around as people believed. It wasn't until I followed Oliver to the military base that I realized Pablo's precise, lethal moves resembled those of a trained soldier. But no matter what, he had agreed to the marriage, and this life. I wouldn't have to marry Oliver. The next morning, I went to the tailor's shop to pick up the dress I had ordered. For the wedding feast. I went to a famous tailor in the city and ordered a design popular in the West, a wedding gown. I hung the wedding gown up in my room and went off, satisfied, to prepare for the wedding feast. That evening, as I returned home, I heard Helen's coquettish voice coming from the woods behind the house. "Oh, Oliver, be gentle. If you tear it, Luna won't have anything else to wear." Oliver's usually composed voice had taken on a lecherous tone. "So what if it's torn? You look far more enticing in it than she ever could." I couldn't believe my ears and dashed into the woods. The snow-white wedding gown hung loosely on Helen, with several pieces of torn fabric scattered on the ground. Oliver was tucking a flower behind her ear. Furious, I lunged at Helen. "This is my wedding gown. How dare you wear it without my permission and ruin it?" Helen, pretending to be weak, fell to the ground and started crying in fear. Oliver pushed me aside and pulled Helen into his arms, yelling at me, "Enough! Luna, wasn't this gown meant for me to see anyway? What's the big deal if Helen wears it? It's just a cheap, tacky style. Why are you making such a fuss? If you keep acting like this, there won't be a wedding." I was enraged and shouted back, "Who said it was for you to see? This gown is for my wedding with Pablo." At Pablo's name, Oliver's brows furrowed. Then he let out a mocking laugh. "Luna, now you're learning to lie? Everyone knows you'd rather die than marry anyone but me." "Pablo? That useless pig grass cutter dares to compare himself to me? I already agreed to show up for the wedding feast." "Stop making a scene," Helen chimed in, adding fuel to the fire. "Yes, Luna, Oliver just wanted to see what you'd wear tomorrow. Why drag someone else into this to upset him?" Helen grabbed my arm, feigning concern. "Luna, don't be angry with Oliver because of me." Then, lowering her voice, she whispered into my ear with malice, "Luna, a disgrace like you is a perfect match for that useless Pablo. Let me tell you, I will be the Major General's wife in this lifetime." A gust of wind blew, carrying the pollen from the flower in Helen's hair right under my nose. Helen knew full well about my pollen allergy. My breathing became labored as the allergic reaction set in, but Helen screamed and dramatically fell backward. Oliver immediately rushed to her side, cradling her in his arms, his face full of worry. He turned and roared at me, "Luna, how can you be so vicious? How could you hurt someone over such a small matter? If Helen gets hurt, I swear I won't let you off." He didn't even glance at my face, flushed and strained from struggling to breathe. Instead, he carried Helen out the door in his arms. Helen rested her head on his shoulder and threw me a triumphant, mocking smile as they left. I staggered to the riverbank, scooping up the cold water and splashing it onto myself. The icy water washed away the pollen lingering in my nose, helping me regain my breath. Everything that had just happened drained the last bit of warmth I felt for Oliver. Thankfully, in this lifetime, I wasn't marrying him. After taking several moments to compose myself, I stood up. The wedding gown was already torn, and Helen had worn it. I didn't want it anymore. With the wedding feast happening tomorrow, I needed to find another suitable outfit. I couldn't let Pablo think I wasn't taking the marriage seriously. As I approached my house, I heard Helen's sultry voice, peering through the window. I saw her lying beneath Oliver, her eyes glazed with desire as he moved on top of her. Even though I had long known the two of them were involved, seeing it unfold before me still made my heart tighten for a moment. Oliver turned his head and froze when his eyes unexpectedly met mine through the window. For a split second, panic flashed in his gaze, but in the next moment, he grabbed Helen's chin and kissed her passionately. As if deliberately trying to provoke me, he pressed harder, his movements increasingly forceful, while Helen gasped and moaned. I turned away, uninterested in watching their sordid display. Instead, I decided to head to town to pick up the new wedding gift I had prepared for Pablo. Chapter 4. When I returned to the village, I ran into Oliver just as he was coming out of my house. As he walked up to me, I could still smell the faint scent of indulgence lingering on him. Seeing the watch box in my hand, the guilty look on Oliver's face instantly turned to one of ease. "You bought me a watch. Let me see it," he said, reaching out. I dodged his hand and hid the box behind my back. "This is for my future husband, not for you." He let out a mocking laugh. brimming with confidence. Who else would you marry if not me? That useless Pablo who only survives by cutting pig grass? Come on, you're just saying all this to get my attention, aren't you? I know you won't marry anyone but me. I've already talked it over with Helen. Here's the plan. I'll hold the wedding feast with you here in the countryside, but I'll go to the city to register the marriage with Helen. And once your father gives me the recommendation letter, I'll join the military and take Helen with me as my military spouse. She'll take care of me personally, which is no small task. Don't feel bad, though. You're used to the rough life here in the village. Your looks and manners can't compare to Helen's. If you went to the military base, people would only look down on you. This is for your own good. Even though I already knew how shameless Oliver was, his brazen words still made my stomach turn. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. I know you're upset today, but tomorrow I'll cooperate with you for the wedding feast, he said. Agreeing to hold the feast here is already giving you enough face. Don't forget about the recommendation letter. Oh, and you should apologize to Helen for making her fall yesterday. Otherwise, don't blame me if I call off the wedding on the spot. With that, Oliver left ahead of me, watching his retreating figure. I let out a long breath. It's fine, tomorrow he'll finally know who I'm actually marrying. The next morning, a brand new red flag sedan drove into our yard. As Pablo stepped out of the car, dressed in a sharp, modern suit with a red flower pinned to his chest, his tall and sturdy figure took me by surprise. But it was Oliver, standing at the entrance with his usual entourage of educated youths, who turned pale. From outside the courtyard, a booming, deep voice rang out, drawing everyone's attention. 1, 2, 3. A total of 9 red flag sedans parked neatly outside my house. The lively wedding feast seemed to fall into stunned silence, and when Pablo's people began unloading a refrigerator, a television, and a washing machine adorned with red ribbons into the courtyard, the air was filled with sharp intakes of breath. The silence broke into chaos. Is that a television? Someone exclaimed. Immediately, someone well-informed began explaining to the crowd. These are the 3 great items for city weddings. In the countryside, the so-called 3 great items for a wedding were still a bicycle, a watch, and a sewing machine. Owning even a bicycle was considered a mark of great wealth. But Pablo's gifts, a refrigerator, a television, and a washing machine, had completely floored everyone. The crowd marveled at the sight of these luxuries, whispering in awe. Only I felt a bit stiff. Wasn't Pablo supposed to be a simple pig grass cutter? How did he manage to get the ration tickets and afford the 3 great items of city weddings? Chapter 5. The man who had just finished setting down the items noticed my stiff expression. He patted my shoulder and stepped in front of me, shielding me protectively. Dear villagers, today is a joyous day for Luna and me. We've prepared some celebratory sweets for everyone. Please, help yourselves and share in our happiness. As soon as he finished speaking, the men who had helped carry the 3 great items into the courtyard retrieved boxes of sweets from the cars. Everyone received a share, everyone except Oliver and the troublemaking educated youths. When the villagers opened the boxes, they were stunned. Inside were sweets that could only be bought at department stores in the city. Oh my goodness. So many white rabbit candies. And even chocolate. Wow. These candies cost more than meat. In this era, when people rarely tasted meat except during major holidays, Pablo's lavish generosity made it clear that he was far wealthier than he appeared. Some villagers, ever curious, started hinting at whether Pablo might be involved in some shady business like smuggling. Pablo wasn't offended. He simply smiled faintly and said, "I've been lucky. I did a bit of business in Deep City and made enough to afford a wedding." Hearing him mention Deep City triggered a memory. The future richest man in Deep City was also named Pablo, and he had remained unmarried his entire life, donating his vast fortune to the nation. In this life, I only wanted to avoid any entanglements with Oliver. But in the village, there were only a handful of eligible bachelors, most of whom were educated youths. That's when I thought of Pablo, the man at the edge of the village who cut pig grass, with a let's see what happens attitude. I asked my mother to have a matchmaker arrange a proposal. Little did I know, he would turn out to be the future richest man in Deep City. The villagers, delighted with Pablo's sweets, began offering well wishes for the wedding. May you live in harmony and have many children. May you be united in love and grow old together. Pablo accepted their blessings with a gracious smile. Then, he took my hand and slid a gleaming gold bracelet onto my wrist. Studying it with satisfaction, I widened my eyes in surprise and instinctively wanted to refuse. But I caught sight of Oliver's darkened expression. Standing at the courtyard gate, he glared at us, his eyes practically shooting flames. I found it laughable. What right did he have to be angry? The gold bracelet on my wrist suddenly made the watch I had bought for Pablo seem a little less impressive. Hiding the watch box behind me in a flustered motion, I failed to notice Pablo's sharp gaze. He noticed, and a knowing smile crept across his face. His deep, melodious voice reached my ear, and his words made my cheeks flush uncontrollably. Is that a wedding gift you prepared for me, Luna? Avoiding his gaze, I nodded obediently. Pablo chuckled softly and extended his hand toward me. Well then, Luna, would you do me the honor of putting it on for me? I could feel Oliver and the other educated youths intently watching my every move. Summoning my resolve, I pulled out the watch I had spent so much time selecting at the department store. As my cool fingertips brushed against his warm skin, I felt a strange sensation, as if his warmth ignited a faint itch in my heart. The strap length was perfect, and the watch on his wrist seemed to elevate its value. Seeing his satisfied expression, I couldn't help feeling uneasy. After all, I knew all too well the kind of person Oliver was. Pablo, if Oliver and his group say anything unpleasant later, don't take it to heart. Just ignore them. He took my hand and gently draped it over his shoulder. With a smile, he asked, "We're husband and wife, no matter what they say. I won't believe them. I only believe you." He looked directly into my eyes, his gaze filled with unwavering trust. My heart skipped a beat, and a warm feeling spread through me. Chapter 6. Amid the villagers' exclamations of admiration, I caught sight of Oliver not far away. The mocking smile on his lips slowly disappeared, replaced by a heavy expression. I didn't want to pay him any attention, but some people seemed determined to make themselves a nuisance. Oliver strode over and blocked Pablo and me, in a tone dripping with arrogance and condescension. He said, "Luna, are you done with your tantrum? Let go already, or I really will call off the wedding." Before I could respond, Pablo spoke first. "Oliver, you're mistaken. Luna's wedding isn't with you. It's with me. If you're here to share in our joy, you're welcome to join us for the wedding banquet at the state-run restaurant in town. I've booked the entire place." Hearing Pablo say he'd booked the state-run restaurant, I instinctively tightened my hold on his arm. State-run restaurants weren't exactly places you could just book outright. Was he bluffing too much? Oliver immediately noticed my nervous expression and relaxed, as if reassured. "Enough. Luna, are you still mad about yesterday? Fine. I'm sorry. Now tell this guy to leave. Why drag others into our business? You're being so immature. And as for the state-run restaurant, come on, take a look at your status. Do you really think you could book it? Dragging all these props in just to pressure me? And you expect me to believe you'd marry someone else after chasing me around for so long?" Pablo's polite demeanor shifted, his tone growing firm. "Oliver, I suggest you get one thing straight. Luna is my wife now, even if she pursued you in the past. That's ancient history. If you try to sow discord between us again, I won't hesitate to have you arrested for harassing a married woman." Oliver's face darkened with fury. "Fine. Let's see if you really have what it takes to book the state-run restaurant." He turned to the crowd and called out loudly, "Villagers, Pablo says he's hosting his wedding banquet at the state-run restaurant. Let's all go and see if it's true." The villagers gasped in amazement and once again showered us with compliments. Seeing the villagers eagerly planning to head to the state-run restaurant together, I couldn't help but sigh. It's over. The bluff was too much. What do we do now? Pablo patted my shoulder reassuringly. "It's not a bluff. Don't worry, I've got everything arranged." I looked at him skeptically, but he handed me a bag he was holding. "What's this?" I opened the bag and froze. Inside was a snow-white wedding dress. How did you? I saw it in Deep City and immediately thought it would suit you perfectly. Go put it on. Today, you'll be the most beautiful bride." He gently pushed me into a room and urged me to change. Standing in front of the mirror, I barely recognized myself. The dress was even more stunning than the one I had ordered from the tailor. As I turned to look at myself, I couldn't help but marvel. It's true what they say, clothes can make the person. Even I looked beautiful in this dress. When I stepped out of the room, Pablo's face lit up with a genuine smile. "You look beautiful," he said earnestly. He opened the car door for me and gestured for me to step inside. Chapter 7. My heart raced as I followed Pablo to the state-run restaurant. By the time we arrived, Oliver and his group were already there, along with the villagers who were seated in small groups, chatting excitedly. When the restaurant staff saw Pablo step out of the car, holding my hand, they immediately showered us with petals and called out cheerfully, "Congratulations, Mr. Pablo and Miss Luna. Wishing you a happy marriage and a lifetime of joy." As the petals fell around us, I caught a few in my hand and noticed they were made of silk. I looked at Pablo in surprise, and he offered me a knowing, enigmatic smile. "I know you're allergic to pollen, so I made sure to instruct them accordingly," he said softly. He led me down the red carpet, accepting blessings from all around. Inside the restaurant, even the flowers in the vases on each table were made of silk. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that Oliver's face had turned as dark as storm clouds. Among the guests, my mother was crying tears of joy, while my father, typically stern, wore a rare smile. My mother pulled me into a tight embrace, her voice choked with emotion as she said, "Luna, Pablo is a good man. I wish you a happy marriage and a life filled with love and peace." As I dabbed at my mother's tears with a tissue, a sharp voice shattered the warmth of the moment. "I already agreed to marry Luna," Oliver shouted. "How could you let her marry Pablo without my permission?" My mother, who had been a tearful mess just moments ago, immediately stiffened, her expression turning cold. She had always known about my infatuation with Oliver and was well aware of how he had treated me over the years. "Oliver, you're here for Luna's wedding banquet, aren't you? It's such a joyous occasion, make sure to drink a few more cups of wine," she said icily. Oliver froze, his eyes darting toward my father, seeking his help. "Uncle, you agree with this?" he asked, his voice tinged with desperation. My father, a man of few words, cleared his throat before addressing everyone. "Since we're all gathered here today, I'd like to announce some good news," he began. "One of our village's educated youths, Eric, will soon be joining the military. Let's all wish him well." With that, my father raised his cup and downed its contents in one go, completely ignoring Oliver's devastated expression. Oliver stood there, stunned, before grabbing my hand. "Your father gave the recommendation letter to someone else? You're actually marrying Pablo? Have you lost your mind?" I pulled my hand away, my face cold. "Oliver, I'm not like you, playing both sides," I replied firmly. "I told you a long time ago that I wouldn't marry you. The man I'm marrying is Pablo. The wedding dress was for him, and the watch was a wedding gift for him. As for the recommendation letter, it was a fair competition. Eric had the highest work points, so wasn't it only right for him to get it?" Oliver's eyes turned red with disbelief, as though he couldn't process the cruel truth coming from my mouth. Pablo stepped forward and positioned himself protectively in front of me, blocking Oliver's view. "Oliver, stay away from her," Pablo warned, his voice firm. At that moment, Helen rushed over and grabbed Oliver's arm. "Oliver, let's go," she pleaded, but Oliver shoved her away in disgust. "Get lost," he snapped. Helen's eyes immediately reddened, and tears began to stream down her face. I didn't want to waste any more energy arguing with Oliver, so I grabbed Pablo's hand and turned to leave, but Oliver clung desperately to the hem of my dress, his eyes filled with anguish and pleading. "You're lying to me, aren't you?" he choked out. "I was wrong. You're just angry, right? Let's get married right now, okay? I'll cut things off with Helen completely. I swear." Without sparing him a glance, I shook free from his grip. Pablo gestured to his men, who quickly restrained Oliver. As I glanced back at Pablo, I caught a glimpse of Oliver's tear-streaked face. Even while held back, he still struggled to crawl in my direction. "Luna, I'm sorry," he wailed. "Don't marry someone else. I'll change. I promise I'll change." My mother had heard enough. She marched forward and delivered a resounding slap across Oliver's face. "You've tormented my Luna enough, haven't you?" she shouted. "How dare you come to her wedding and cause a scene? What kind of intentions do you have? You've humiliated her time and time again. You made her do everything for you, wash your clothes in the freezing winter. And then you had the audacity to insult her in front of everyone. If it weren't for my Luna being so infatuated with you, do you think I would have treated you kindly?" As my mother recounted the grievances I'd endured for Oliver, her eyes filled with tears. I was her flesh and blood. Although villagers often told her to try for a son to care for her in old age, she firmly refused after I told her I didn't want a younger brother. While other daughters in the village spent their childhoods laboring in the fields, my first experience with farm work was all for Oliver. Oliver fell to his knees before my mother, his face etched with pain and regret. "Auntie, I know I was wrong. I'll change. I swear. Please don't let Luna marry someone else." My mother shoved him aside with annoyance. "Oliver, if you dare disrupt Luna's life again, I'll have you locked up for harassment." Oliver collapsed weakly onto the ground, ignored by everyone around him. Helen stood frozen, dazed. She couldn't understand why the man who had promised her the world just the night before now seemed obsessed with me. Her gaze turned to me in my elegant wedding dress, standing beside the poised and commanding Pablo. Jealousy and hatred surged within her, consuming her rationality. Suddenly, a fiery rage ignited in her eyes. She grabbed a sickle from a nearby pile of tools and charged straight toward me. "Luna, you wretched woman, die!" I stood frozen in shock as Helen lunged at me with the sickle. My body refused to move, paralyzed by fear. Just as the blade was about to strike, a figure darted in front of me. Chapter 8. It was Pablo. Blood dripped from his abdomen, pooling rapidly on the ground. Despite his obvious pain, he reached out to gently cover my eyes. "Don't look. It's terrifying," he whispered softly. Tears streamed down my face as I frantically called his name, my hands trembling as I tried to press down on his wound to stop the bleeding. The blood wouldn't stop, staining my white dress a deep red. Pablo was quickly carried into a car by his men and rushed to the hospital. I stayed behind to handle the chaos left in Helen's wake. Helen, restrained by the villagers, began laughing maniacally when she saw me. "Luna, even if Pablo's rich, he'll be a dead man soon, and you'll become a widow. Ha ha ha." I approached her step by step, gripping her chin firmly as I leaned in close. In a low voice only she could hear, I said, "Helen, so what if I become a widow? Wouldn't all of Pablo's money still be mine? But you," I added, casting a glance at her slightly rounded belly. "If the police find out that you're an unmarried woman carrying a child, especially one fathered by multiple men, would they drown you in the river, or shoot you outright?" Helen's face turned ashen, and her voice trembled as she stammered. "How do you know? You've been reborn too. You witch, you planned this." Helen had been adopted by my father after her parents died in a flood, but she had always aimed too high, dreaming of using her beauty to climb the social ladder. In my previous life, Helen met a disgraceful end. Her working-class husband caught her cheating after she gave birth to an illegitimate child and beat her to death. Oliver, somehow discovering the truth, silently took in Helen's child. I had unknowingly raised her son, only to be killed by him in the end. After handing Helen over to the police, I rushed to the hospital to see Pablo. Fortunately, he was out of danger. When he woke up, I expected him to be upset, but instead, he comforted me. Despite being injured in the aftermath of my entanglement with Oliver, he didn't seem to mind. In fact, Pablo became even kinder to me. He bought supplements for my parents and renovated the red brick house we had lived in for decades. But guilt weighed on me heavily. One day, I finally gathered the courage to speak. "I don't know why you wanted to marry me, but if you ever find someone you truly love, we can get a divorce. I won't hold you back." Pablo, sipping his tea, choked and coughed violently. "How is it that you still haven't recognized me?" he asked with an exasperated smile. He knocked on the large thermos beside his bed, waiting for me to catch on. Staring at him in confusion, a long-lost memory suddenly resurfaced. Years ago, during the flood, I helped my parents rescue people. I pulled a skinny boy, barely alive, out of the river. He was nearly hypothermic, and I had given him all the hot water I had left to save his life. At the time, I was too focused on rescuing him to remember his face. So, it was you, I murmured, covering my mouth in shock. Yes, and since you saved my life, I've come to repay you with marriage, he said with a warm smile. Realizing Pablo's feelings for me, our bond only grew stronger. One day, my mother brought chicken soup to the hospital and shared some shocking news. Helen had escaped from prison in the middle of the night and attacked Oliver with a knife. In the struggle, Oliver's once handsome face was permanently scarred, and he sustained a leg injury that left him disabled for life. Helen, on the other hand, was gunned down by pursuing police after being accused of both grievous harm and immoral conduct. Even in her final moments, Helen muttered about being reborn, about becoming the wife of a general, words no one understood. Hearing about their fates, I felt nothing but indifference. Later, the young intellectuals returned to the city en masse, and Oliver disappeared completely. Rumor had it that his parents, ashamed of his disability, forced him to marry a random rural girl, focusing solely on raising their grandson. They ignored Oliver entirely, unable to endure the humiliation. Oliver eventually drowned himself in the same river where my ashes had been scattered in my past life. All the people and events that once chained me had finally come to an end. This time, I would embrace the spring breeze and walk boldly toward a bright and beautiful future.